The ascendant is how we step into life, how we initiate life, how we confront life. And so when you move a planet on the ascendant, you are essentially choosing to approach life that way. If I have chosen Mars first, every moment, at least that I'm conscious of, I am thinking about what would Mars in me do. So, for example, as a planet, what does Mars want? Mars wants to have a purpose to go after. Mars wants something to fight for. Mars wants to get excited about something. Mars wants to be able to conquer something. So in every moment, if I'm choosing Mars first, the question is going to be, is it exciting? Is there something I can go after? Is there something I can really get excited about and challenge myself with? You know, this whole idea of planets on the first is really as within, as without, as above, so below. I believe that the planets are in us just as much as they are above in the sky. And if we can embrace them as part of ourselves, that then we have a new experience with astrology. And it's not just thinking about what the planet means, or reading or learning what Mars means in your chart, or what it means predictively, or what it means in synastry, but how does it actually show up in your life? And you truly don't need to use any technique with this. It's almost like an active meditation. But it has been something that has changed my life, and many of my clients have been having richer, fuller experiences of themselves because they're able to tap into something different. It's as if, imagine that you live in a big house, but you only stay in the kitchen. All the other rooms are there, but you always live in the kitchen. So it's the same thing with the planets and with astrology, with ourselves. If I have always been a very Saturn, Saturnian type person, I can choose to be more Venus, more Venusian. And when we do that, we get to have new experiences of ourselves. So I'm going to move forward a little bit here. So one thing to think about the ascendant, to me, the ascendant is how we are instinctually experiencing things. We're not thinking about it logically, we're just acting. So I have Aries rising. I have a tendency to just jump into a situation. I don't overthink the situation, I just jump in and try to do it. So if you move Mars to the ascendant, for example, in every moment you're more just jumping in without thinking. But every planet is different and every sign is different. And so one thing that I use here, for example, if you have Gemini rising, one of the questions always going on, whether you realize it or not, is, you know, can I figure it out? Does it make sense? Is it logical? And as another example, Sagittarius. In every moment, is there room for me to move? Is there adventure? Can I learn something greater? Can I find a deeper truth in it? So if, for example, you are a person or you're working with a client who is feeling out of touch with their spirituality, choosing Jupiter first, for example, is a wonderful choice. Because then in every moment, there's this idea of choosing of what is the deeper truth? What is the greater truth? And can I put myself in new experiences that then the truth unfolds? Because see, to me, I love astrology. And I do use it for all kinds of things. I use transits and progressions and solar returns, but none of those things tell us who we are. None of those things really reveal. Because we are not able to define ourselves with words and with planets and with birth charts. There's something more. But I don't want to say, let me give up astrology because it doesn't tap into my deeper self or my God self, my higher self, whatever word you like for that. I want to find a way to use astrology that actually reveals more of that to myself. And so this technique has been something that is fun that way. Okay. So I'm just going to give one example. I'm going to choose Jupiter. And this would be, for example, so if you were to choose Jupiter first, back to my example, which very much can be the spiritual path, how to find oneself in a greater context. So a good example, this is me coming from Los Angeles, California to India for the first time, is a very Jupiterian experience. And I couldn't have learned that through just looking at my chart or just reading a book about India. I need to be here with you to have the experience to know how I am in this new place. So if we go back to Jupiter, some of the questions would be, is this true for me? If you're choosing Jupiter first, in every moment there's this question, is it true? So even as I'm speaking now, if you were choosing Jupiter first, you'd be saying, does that feel true to me? And so that becomes a question throughout your life while you are working with Jupiter first. And then also, do you believe in what you're doing? You know, does it have deeper meaning? Does it have purpose? And are you trusting your intuition? Are you able to see a bigger concept, a bigger context? Is life revealing itself to you in larger ways? So that's one example. I don't have time to go through all of them. I myself have I did Venus first, and when I spent a whole year choosing Venus first, and I even gained, I got fatter, like 20 pounds fatter. I ate different kinds of food. I did very many sensual things, more than normal. So I even looked a bit different. I looked like, to the extent that my genetics could look more like Venus, it happened. And it's happened for my clients as well. And it's fun to see that when you really choose something and put your attention and energy into it, it will unfold for you. Okay, so I'm going to close so we have time for other people. To me, astrology is not just a tool for answering big questions and timing when to do things and who to marry, although those are wonderful uses of it. It's also a great way to have fun with yourself, to learn more about who you are, and maybe even more than learning who you are, to learn who you are not. Because so much of astrology is linked in with the ego self, right? Because if it's not ego, if it is your deeper self, you wouldn't be able to define it with astrology. So it can be fun to play around with the patterns, the habits, the things that you do, but when you can see that as not who you are, your deep soul self, but see it as the self-identity you've created, you give yourself freedom. And even though there's a certain amount of fate, and I think all of you probably, I know the way you use astrology, you may have a lot of fate tied into it, I'm not taking that away. I'm saying in that space, you can move around. You want the contents, the container might be what it is, but you can change the contents of that container at any time, right? So, in closing, what we choose, and this is not just true in astrology, but in everything, what we choose, what we think about, and what we believe in creates our reality, moment to moment. And this is why when you choose a planet first, it can really work, because when you choose Venus first, you will see Venus everywhere. You will see Venus in other people. You will see Venus in yourself. And that can be a very beautiful thing. So, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.